Now available in paperback and e-readers, Isis, Amari's Revenge. The goddess next door is confronted by a Nubian queen out for revenge at the Metropolitan Museum of Art in this inaugural Isis series adventure. Get your copy of Isis, Amari's Revenge in paperback and e-readers at Amazon.com and online booksellers everywhere. One of my viewers wanted to know how I could wind up out of work for 15 years. And the answer to that question is very simple. No one in New York City would hire me. Now, back in 2008, when I was working at the City College of New York at their science library, I thought I was going to be in that job for the rest of my life. However, as I was standing at the circulation desk on the week of October 24th, 2008, on that Monday, I was standing at the circulation desk looking down, and as I was looking down, this professor of a certain religion got upset and thought I was sleeping at the desk, and as he thought I was sleeping at the desk, the black woman I was working with, who was one of these back to Africa types with natural hair, went along with his allegation that I was sleeping at the desk. And as this guy basically made this allegation, I got no support from the union. And as I got no support from the union, I basically wound up out of that job on October 24th of 2008. And I thought that God would be able to help me get another job. I thought that he had promised me another job. And I was going to go and continue to persevere because he told me to keep going that Sunday of that week. And that's what I've been doing over the last 15 years. I have been trying to keep myself moving forward and trying to keep going in a direction that moves my life forward. And after I got let go from that job at the City College of New York, I thought I was going to be able to bounce back. And I thought I was going to be able to bounce back by getting another civil service job, because my name at the time was still on the list for civil service jobs, and I was getting letters from colleges, so I thought I was going to be able to get another job very quickly. So I got the first letter from Queens Community College, and I remember going on that interview in November. I remember going into it having a lot of faith, believing that I was going to be able to get this job, and I answered all the questions of the interviewer, maintained eye contact. However, when I came out of that interview, I was quickly told I wasn't going to get that job, and they had already picked a black female to get that job. So that was the start of me having issues with the City University of New York as related to a pattern of discrimination against black heterosexual men. Now, I noticed that pattern way back in 2007 with their hiring pools and how they had a clear bias towards women for the CUNY office assistant job, and they had a clear bias against heterosexual black men because it was mostly heterosexual black men who were the ones left in the room that were not the ones getting hired. And as I went to many of these hiring pools over the course of 2009 and all the way up to 2012, I had basically reached the point where I realized that there was a clear pattern of discrimination. And basically, I thought that all of my hopes back in 2008 of getting another job and bouncing back, all of that basically went to crap. And I basically got so fed up that I basically wound up walking away from the entire civil service list because there was no way I was going to be able to secure full-time employment because women in CUNY had basically erected what I call the HR brick wall. And this HR brick wall basically made it where no heterosexual man would be able to get any sort of CUNY office assistant position. And that was shown to me by the hostility I received when I would go on these interviews all across New York City, because I not only went to Queens, which is far, far away from my old South Bronx neighborhood, I also traveled to colleges in Brooklyn and colleges in Manhattan and Lower Manhattan, spending lots of money. And as I spent this money, I basically was just throwing good money after bad because the entire hiring pool process was completely rigged by women who had their female own group preference. And as they participated in their female own group preference, this basically made it where I was just basically wasting my time. And that's where I got frustrated as related to looking for that kind of civil service job, but I was also looking for other jobs as well. And I remember ever since about 2008 when I went to the unemployment office, they showed me the Indeed website. And when I was at the Indeed website, I was putting in applications. I put in thousands of applications. I put in thousands of applications for thousands of jobs, and sadly never heard from a single one at all from all of that online listings. And this was even when I went out here and modified my resume multiple times. I would never hear from anyone. And as I would never hear from anyone, I would go on these CUNY interviews, which were just completely insane. And I had one guy in 2009 who was a part of Human Resources ask me, what was I doing as I was applying for these jobs? What was I doing at the time? And what I was doing was basically looking for work. And it just showed how just incompetent many of these people are as related to job interviews. They don't know how to ask questions, and they don't know how to go out here and present questions to people who are looking for work. Now, as I was looking for work, I was looking to further develop my skills. And as I was looking to develop my skills, I went to CUNY's Metropolitan Equal Opportunity Center, and I learned PC repair. And I wanted to learn PC repair because I had just went through a period in 2007 where my Dell Inspiron 2500, which I bought with the money I got from my AmeriCorps Vista bonus, basically wound up dying, and I wound up without a computer for an entire year. And with me without a computer for an entire year, I had to do revisions of books that I published later on, like The Temptation of John Haynes and All About Maryland and The Recipe for Success. I had to edit those manuscripts by hand, and I had to edit those manuscripts by hand because I had no computer from 2007 until one of my family members gave me their old desktop in 2008, until I could save up enough money to be able to buy my own new laptop. So I, as a person who was out of a computer for over a year, and you really needed a computer since about 2005 in order to be able to do any sort of business, I had to wait an entire year to go get this computer, and I wanted to be able to repair that computer. That's why I took the PC repair course at the Metropolitan Equal Opportunity Center in Harlem. And as I took this course in Harlem, I went on to take my CompTIA A+ certification, which I scored very highly in 2009, and I thought I would be able to branch into a career into IT. Unfortunately, when it came to IT, a lot of people didn't want a guy who just got the certification alone. No, they wanted to have years of experience, and then there was another IT HR brick wall because it was next to impossible to get information as related to these kind of jobs. And even worse, what exacerbated the situation is you had a lot of companies looking to hire people with H-1B visas rather than hire American workers who had this type of skill. But I had that type of skill, and I was able to use it to fix my Dell Latitude D830, and I was also able to use it to learn how to work on other computers like the Apple MacBook Pros. Now, in 2011, I was smart enough to understand that I would need a backup computer, and I bought an Apple MacBook Pro, and I built that computer up to be able to run Windows and Macintosh, and even had Windows XP and have all of the Microsoft Office software on that computer. I built that computer completely up, and as I built that computer, I learned a lot about repairing MacBooks as well, and I've been able to repair my MacBook Pros from my 2011 one, which was a 13-inch, and as I was doing that, learning how to do PC repair in 2008, I also was working on building my SJS Direct imprint. Now, when I first started my job in civil service, I wanted to start publishing many of my manuscripts. I first wanted to use a print-on-demand publisher, and I published my second book, the Cassandra Cookbook, in 2008, and I went on a promotional campaign to try to get the word out about that book. That's what I took a lot of money to go out here and do. Went over to places like the Human bookstore when it was operating in Harlem, went to street vendors in Harlem. I wanted to get the word out about that book, and as I was looking to get the word out about that book, I wanted to publish the Maryland screenplay book. I was originally going to do it with a print-on-demand company, but when I looked at the formatting, I realized that the formatting was unique. So I wanted to make sure I would be able to get proper formatting. So what I did was I started working on building the SJS Direct imprint so that I could specialize in being able to get this book properly formatted in the screenplay format and get this book ready in a complete screenplay format. That's what I did in late 2008 up until 2009. And in 2008, late 2008, I signed up with Lightning Source to start SJS Direct, and I started SJS Direct around late 2008 and 2009 and prepared to launch my first book, All About Maryland. That was the first book that was going to be launched on the SJS Direct imprint, and I did that primarily because I wanted to be able to gain access to better distribution. Moreover, I wanted to keep 100% of the royalties as related to printing costs. I wanted to be able to gain more control over the creative process, and I wanted to be able to make more profits because I would be the one completely in charge, and I wouldn't have to split costs with a print-on-demand company and split print costs with Lightning Source as well, because when it comes to published books, they all go through Lightning Source, and they all go through Lightning Source. And as I was looking for that next full-time civil service job, I was still again working at going to MEOC to learn PC repair, and I was looking to build my SJS Direct imprint. That's what I was doing from 2008 to 2009. And as I was on there, I had another person who I used to talk to on IMDb. They told me about Twitter and Facebook. And as I was told about Twitter and Facebook and MySpace, I started going on social media to promote my work. And as I was on social media promoting my work, I was not only working on my older books, I was also doing blogging every week. And I was out here, and as I was doing blogging every week, I ran into a national best-selling author. And as I ran into this national best-selling author, I formed a business relationship with this woman, and she basically was helping me try to build up SJS Direct and had gotten me an appearance on a radio show. And as I was about to do that radio show, I basically got sabotaged by another family member, and that basically set me back a lot as related to SJS Direct, because that appearance would have led to me going on social media earlier than I did as related to being on this platform, because I had been making plans to go to social media and build my exposure. I wanted to go to YouTube as far as 2009. However, I didn't feel confident about my voice because I had an issue with an employer at a law firm who didn't like the way that I talked. Like some of these people on this platform don't like the way that I talk, didn't like the sound of my voice, talking about how I was hostile and really was projecting stereotypes about heterosexual black men being angry on me. So I was ready to go again on these platforms as far back as 2009 or 2010, and I was just held back because of that whole issue with that family member who basically got so insecure, thinking that I was going to go to Hollywood because I was talking about a screenplay book which talked about the struggles of black actresses. But all I was doing was going on this show to get exposure for the SJS Direct imprint and trying to find my voice. That was what I was trying to do back in 2009, but I had a setback. But as I had that setback, I continued to persevere and looking to promote my work, and I was able to do an appearance at the Monroe College bookstore in 2000, I think 10 or so, or 2009 or so, and that one really helped me a lot as related to things. And as I was working at and doing these appearances, I was also working with other writers, helping them get their books out. I helped a fellow Monroe alumni get their book out. And I also helped that national best-selling author work on building her social media presence because she wanted to get many books that she had the rights back to the marketplace. So I was somebody who helped her with that. And as I was doing that, I also was looking to try to further build the SJS Direct imprint. I did make appearances at the Harlem Book Fair in 2009 and 2010. Didn't make any money at those book fairs because black people basically ignored positive black fiction I presented, but I still persevered in spite of those setbacks. And in 2011, I decided to go in a different direction as ebooks became popular in the marketplace. Now, as ebooks became popular in the marketplace, my best-selling author friend told me that she wanted me to convert some of her books into ebooks, and I converted many of her books into ebooks, and I got her books to the marketplace. And as I got her books to the marketplace, I was writing heavily on men's issues, and I did have a column with a website called Onyx Link. Moreover, I also was out here doing many ebooks. First, I started out with the YA ebook exclusives. I was giving books away for free on Smashwords, and I was also working as I was giving away ebooks on Smashwords on starting to do many of the iconic men's issues books that people know me for, like the Stop Simpin' books. I did the first Stop Simpin' book in 2011 as I was out here looking to promote The Temptation of John Haynes, which got positive reviews when I released it. And as I was doing that, I did the Smashwords YA ebook exclusive series, and these were just stories that I had and I could turn into ebooks and sell for just 99 cents. And that led to me having my first big hit, which was the All About Nikki Fabulous first season, and also having a hit in the repackaged Cassandra cookbook, which was known as A Recipe for Success. Those two books basically became top sellers for the SJS Direct imprint, which A Recipe for Success selling over 1,000 copies in digital format, and All About Nikki basically selling hundreds of copies in digital format, and people coming back to pick up the fabulous first season after picking up the free ebook. And as I was doing this, I was working on new projects as related to men's issues, because Stop Simpin' was also a hit. And Stop Simpin' being a hit was a major turning point for the SJS Direct imprint, because from that book, I started doing books on men's issues. And as I did books on men's issues, that's where I had the big 2012, where I was publishing a book called The Thetas. I was working on that book for 2013, but I also brought back the ISIS character for the ISIS series in two stories, Amari's Revenge and The Ultimate Fight. And after I did those two books in November of 2012, I basically started again with building further the SJS Direct imprint, and that led to the big 2013, where I wound up publishing over 13 books on the SJS Direct imprint. And ever since then, I have had a consistent catalog of titles coming out every year, and had a consistent catalog of titles as I was starting to build the SJS Direct imprint. Now in 2012, I just abandoned my quest for those civil service jobs because it was basically turning into a waste of time and money. And with my unemployment ending in 2011, I was basically living off savings. So that's what I had been doing for years, basically living off savings and looking to try to get things going as related to my professional career. And as I was looking to get things going as related to my professional career, I have just basically been persevering and trying to get more projects out, trying to get things like Kickstarters funded, and trying to get things moving forward. That's what I have been trying to do ever since about 2012, when my unemployment ran out and I was still trying to, again, get things going as related to my goals, which were to get a full-time job and to go and be able to continue pursuing work on the SJS Direct imprint, and working on books, and working on, at the one time, 3 blogs a week, in addition to writing books. And as I was going on from 2012 to 2013, this is where I realized that the Sean James Black Freelance Writer blog, which a lot of people on comic book resources and many other websites were reading, eventually had reached its peak, because that blog basically had hit 2 million hits. And at 2 million hits, this is where I look to further expand things as related to the SJS Direct imprint and my brand by moving over to YouTube. Now, I moved over to YouTube because I realized that I wasn't going to be able to reach too many more people with the blog, even though I was posting 3 blogs a week, and I continued to post 3 blogs a week up until about maybe 2016 or 2017 maybe, or maybe even 2018. I can't really remember the date, but I used to post 3 blogs a week, in addition to writing multiple novels and writing ISIS and Esteem series books. I mean, I would go out and write multiple books and go out here and be on YouTube posting videos basically every couple of days. And that's what I had been doing ever since about 2013. And over the course of time, I went from going to post videos a couple of days to looking to post videos every day. And the reason why I wanted to do this again was to further expand the channel and further build up the base of subscribers and get people to know me, because when it comes to authors, you need to get to know an author in order to buy their work. So that's why I came to YouTube. I came to YouTube because I wanted people to get to know me, so they could get to know my work, so that I could be able to sell my work on the SJS Direct imprint. And that's what I was doing as related to making videos. And I was doing this basically on the most shoestring of budgets. I mean, that's what I worked from 2008 all the way until about, right now I'm still working on a shoestring budget. And I was working on that shoestring budget, again, doing my hand-drawn covers, because I didn't have that much money, because I needed money to live. And as I was looking to, again, build the business, I had people like these feminists making fun of the ISIS series covers. I had people talking about terrible covers on websites, not knowing that I had spent $400 on a comic artist to do the cover for The Temptation of John Haynes, but he didn't really do the art right because I didn't really give him the right instructions. That was something that I learned was my mistake, because I wanted to, again, as far back as 2011, start contacting comic artists because of my love for comic books and comic book art. I wanted to be able to give a lot of comic artists work and start getting their work noticed in the world of trade publishing, because a trade publishing credit has higher value than a publishing credit from a comic book company. That's what a lot of people don't know. A publishing credit from a trade publisher basically has a higher value and can lead to you getting better work. And those jobs, again, they are ones that are coveted by comic artists. And I wanted to give back to the comic book industry, because it was comics that taught me how to read. It was comics that taught me how to be inspired to be a writer. It was comics that inspired me to be a writer. It was comics that did this, and I wanted to give back to the business, but I had financial setbacks, and it was those financial setbacks that basically kept me from being able to put a lot of art that I wanted to put on books, because a lot of the ISIS and Esteem series books that you saw with hand-drawn covers, I wanted those to feature comic art on the covers. I wanted to put comic artists over, and I wanted to get those books to the marketplace, but sadly, I didn't have the money, because my money was starting to run low. And I remember it was like I had to just really scramble to try to get money together to be able to do projects. And that was the thing that I was trying to do as I was out here. I was basically out here living off the little bit of royalties I was making on Amazon, which didn't even come out to about $200 a year in some cases, along with my savings. That's what I had been doing for a long time, and again, continue to persevere as I was dealing with without any home internet, because I basically at one point had to go to the library basically every day, and I was walking all the way from my home on 169th Street all the way to 162nd Street to the Melrose Library, and I would go to the Melrose Library basically every day looking to, one, look for jobs, two, look to upload my YouTube videos, and three, look for work. I mean, this is what I did from about 10 o'clock in the afternoon all the way till 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And then after I would go and do all of that work of uploading my videos, uploading my blogs, and promoting my work, and going to look for work, I would come home and then work on other novels like Spinsterella, like Spellbound, and many of the books like the Stop Simpin' second edition. I mean, I would put in these hours for this work, and it was basically like me basically working every day. This is what I would do, and on some days when I would have a little bit more money from a donation, or at the time I was a little bit monetized, if I would occasionally get something from an AdSense, because I really wasn't making that much, I would go down to the 40th Street Library in Manhattan and go look for work there. I mean, this is what I have been doing for the last, I'd say, 10 years or so. I mean, I have been putting in work, and you'll have people ask, oh, how could you be out of work for 15 years? Yeah, I was out of work with a major company for 15 years, and that was all due to the resistance I ran into in New York's job market. And as I was dealing with all of this resistance in New York's job market from these feminists who basically have erected an HR brick wall which keeps heterosexual black men from entering the workplace, I run into this resistance from these women who basically only see the job market one way. They only see the experience that you get from working for an employer. They don't see self-employed experience as experience. No, they only see experience from somebody working for somebody else, and that tunnel vision really keeps guys like myself out from being able to get full-time work again, because when we go out and we put on our applications all of our self-employment experience or our volunteer experience, what we get is dissed and dismissed, because these hypergamous women, they only want to see a man with a prestigious company name on the resume in order for them to consider that man having actual experience. And that's what I ran into at many of these hiring pools back in 2007, where when I did my first interview for a job, this woman basically dismissed all of my experience that I had at the time with AmeriCorps Vista, with the Strive Job Readiness Workshop. I mean, just dismissed it and dismissed all of it as meaning nothing to her, because for her, work experience means you work for a corporation, preferably a corporation run by white men. And that's the kind of resistance I have run into for the last 15 years that has made it very frustrating to try to look for work in the job market. And as I've gone and put in applications, again, I've put in 10 to 20,000 applications. I remember putting in applications at my local Target in the Bronx almost 10 times. I put in applications with Best Buy about 15 times. I've put in applications with many other retailers dozens of times just to get pocket money, but I never hear anything from those people as related to a callback for an interview. And for many other companies, I have put in applications, and I would get a rare interview here or there, but after you do the interview, you never hear anything, and the few times you do, you get a rejection letter. This is what's happened to me for the last 15 years, and you'll have people say, oh, how can a person be out of work for 15 years? Again, it's not by choice. It's because you run into this HR brick wall, and this brick wall makes it where no candidate, even if they are qualified, can get through, because what the women do is create their own female-owned group preference, and by pushing narrative saying, oh, we're being oppressed, when in actuality they use their position to oppress especially heterosexual black men and prevent heterosexual black men from being able to access a job. And even when we do get those jobs, well, these same women will try to get you fired because they want to be comfortable, and them and the white and non-black men want to be comfortable at those jobs, because having a heterosexual black man on the job, from my experience, represents competition. And it represents competition because that heterosexual black man, if he has economic power in any way, shape, or form, makes it where they can't really have any power over that man. And since they can't have power over that man, they can get leverage over the entire economic system. So they don't really want black men on these jobs. That's what I've found from my observations. I mean, I have been putting in, again, applications for years, and even though I talk about my experience as related to building the SJS Direct imprint, showed consistency as related to being able to go from being a guy who published one book in 2002 to being able to publish 3 to 4 titles a year from about 2012 onward, and had a record 13 books published in 2013. A guy who has written 80 books and has been consistent about publishing books for over 10 years, has gone out here and has a decade of publishing experience as related to digital publishing, has not only written and published his own books, but helped publish the books of a national best-selling author, helped another college graduate be able to publish her book, help another author be able to get their Christian books out. I mean, here I am showing experience as related to being able to work on with other people, work on a team, be able to get work out consistently, be able to lead a team, be able to produce consistent results. But that's not real experience I found with employers. No, that's not real experience with employers, that I could go out here and be able to not only be able to write novels, be able to write screenplays, be able to write comic books, be able to edit this material and get it out consistently. Moreover, be able to help edit other people's work. I mean, I have a whole base of experience in publishing, and that's not enough for people. Moreover, it's not enough that I have gone out here and done an A-plus program and have learned how to repair PCs and Macs, and can go out here and work on the 2009 to 2016 MacBook Pro chassis and PC chassis and be able to repair them. No, every time I go and apply for one of these jobs, don't hear a single thing from people. And that's the way it's been for 15 years. But I try to do what God has told me and keep going in spite of all of this. In spite of all of this, I keep trying to go, even though I have not been able to get that full-time job. And I basically got frustrated after one time I was told about a security guard job. I mean, I went to go and call this woman for this job, and she laughs at me because I'm not working for some corporate boss, and it just really disgusted me to the point where I just basically wanted to throw up my hands regarding the job market. But I keep putting applications in, hoping to get a break, and as I look to get that break, I just keep going, trying to go and find another full-time job, even though I know that I've got the skills. And I know now lately I'm starting to see that many people at companies like Marvel and DC Comics and many like Dynamite and Image know I have the skills. They know about me but don't want to help me. Again, you could have given me a job as a writer. I'm showing you consistent work, showing you I can get work out consistently and regularly at a high standard, even higher than the standards of these comic companies. Because if you look at John Haynes at Death's Door, that's a book that's basically higher than the standards of most modern comic companies. But that's not enough for many of these companies. And this is one of the reasons I believe I have been out of work for 15 years. I mean, I have been putting in that work towards trying to get myself to the next level. and I've had to go out here and do this on my own while I was out here looking for work. And again, what's sad is I go to many of these employers, and many of these employers do not want to see the quality of my work. People know about it but don't want to acknowledge it. That is the most frustrating thing for me over the last 15 years. It's been the most frustrating thing for me as related to the job market. I mean, a lot of people ask, oh, how can a man be out of work so long? Well, there's not only me, but there are 6 million other men out here who are not able to actualize their potential in the job market because of the HR brick wall. And no matter what politician tells you the economy is doing well, many of us men like myself, we're not doing well because over the last year, I have been dealing with health issues as related to this long-term unemployment. I have been dealing with anxiety to the point where it was making me physically ill. And again, that's all due to the stress I have had over the last 15 years. All of the stress I have had over the last 15 years. I mean, I have been dealing with, again, because I've been trying to move my life forward, and I thank God for people like Obsidian back in the day with the Sean James Initiative, because I wouldn't be as far as I am right now without his help at the time. But all of that went to pot with the whole passport thing of 2019. And now I'm, again, still dealing with I was dealing with these anxiety health issues, which were affecting my physical and mental health. I mean, I'm still trying to deal with this because, again, a man's employment allows him to have economic stability. And if he has economic stability, he can go out here and do things that I have not been able to do. I mean, when I was 34, I thought I would be able to keep that civil service job. I thought I would be able to start looking to build a savings and start to build the SJS Direct imprint a little slower than I did. And I thought I'd be able to move things forward and be able to do things like go out here and, again, build that imprint and be able to do things like be able to get my own place or be able to do other things like, again, starting to further expand the business. And if I had kept that job, I would have been able to, again, be able to hire more comic artists and possibly go out here and actually do the comics I originally planned, because I originally planned, in addition to the novels, to do comics. I wanted to do the ISIS series as a comic book series, and I wanted to do the Esteem series and the John 8. Those were originally supposed to be comics, but they wound up becoming paperback books because I didn't have the budget to do them. And I've only been able to do maybe 2 comics, and I wanted to do more. And that's the thing that frustrates me at 50 is I wanted to do a lot more, and I had plans to do a lot more, but I'm not able to do that because I don't have that full-time work. It would have been that full-time work that would have been able to allow me to be able to hire a lot more artists to do comics like I originally planned for Amari's Revenge. Amari's Revenge was originally going to be a comic, and the same thing with many of the other stories in the ISIS series. Those were gonna be comics, but I wasn't able to do that because, again, I never had the money, and I didn't have the money because it was hard to get these full-time jobs due to all the ratchetness and chicanery that makes it near impossible for any man to get a job in this really frustrating and really annoying job market that makes absolutely no logical sense. Because in my father's time, when he was alive, if you wanted a job, you just went a place and people heard you wanted a job and they just gave it to you. But ever since I got out of college, it's been a hostile environment, and people want to talk about degrees, they want to talk about experience, but they don't want to deal with anybody with passion, and that's why it's hard to get these jobs. I mean, a guy like me, again, I graduated at the top of my class, but I couldn't get any support after I graduated, and again, really frustrating because I've been wanting to work for 15 years. I want to show people what I can do. And even though I go out here and do the work on my own, many of these spellbound people don't see it unless a white person can go out here and rubber stamp it. That's the whole frustrating thing about the job market that's frustrating, is that nobody can see the accomplishments of a man like myself unless there's a white person to put a stamp on it. And that's the saddest part, again, about trying to find full-time employment, is that you need a white person to put a stamp on it at one of their companies in order to get hired. And that's the thing that frustrates me about America's job market, because, again, I've been out of work from a full-time company for 15 years. I'm trying to continue to follow God and keep going, and I'm trying to keep continuing to go, and again, going on my own with God. And that's the whole thing that's really upsetting, is that God can see the work I'm doing, but people won't open their eyes. I mean, unless you're working for a white person, people don't want to open their eyes and see the work that you're doing. I mean, that's the thing that frustrates me the most about America's job market. And I know that there's 6 million other men dealing with this, because a lot of men dropped out of the job market, but nobody wants to talk about why we dropped out. We didn't drop out because we wanted to drop out. No, we dropped out because there was no support for us. I mean, we put in the applications. We can't keep doing that. We can't keep spending money on bus fare for job interviews where you're dealing with interviewers who aren't excited or enthusiastic and don't really want to even try to interview you. I mean, there comes a point where a man has to go out here and realize that the job market isn't really working for him, and he has to start working for himself. That's what I had to do. I mean, I had to realize that the job market wasn't working for me as related to the looking for one of these jobs. And again, this is real frustrating for me, because a lot of people ask, oh, what were you, I mean, how could you be out of work for 15 years? Well, it's easy to be out of work for 15 years when you're dealing with a lot of selfish baby boomers who don't want to go out here and give jobs to other people, because they want to hoard the jobs and stay on the jobs forever, and basically don't see anybody messing up their spot. It's hard to get jobs when you're dealing with young people who really don't have any sort of skills as related to interviewing, and it's really, you can wind up out of work for a long time when you're dealing with computerized systems that are extremely indifferent. I mean, it's hard to get work in New York, which is a hostile environment, and even other parts of the country, because the way we go out here and treat prospective employers really isn't really about helping people. No, it's just about meeting all sorts of diversity quotas and not looking to get talent based on merit. And when it comes to the black man, they don't really want to see your talent. No, they don't want to see your talent at all. And that's the most frustrating thing about the job market. I mean, you can be here and be doing the work, and they'll just dismiss it and disregard it. Or in the case of the job for the security guard I applied for, you get laughed at even though you're looking for any type of job to make some money. And that makes it harder for men like myself. And that's why a man can be out of work for 15 years, because America's job market isn't about trying to help men go out here and find work to be able to build. It's all about looking to maintain its system, and maintain a system that really isn't benefiting America, because if America's men like myself aren't working, America won't be working in the future. Now, this was an answer to a viewer regarding why I was out of work for 15 years, and I'm hoping this answers the question. And I'm still out here continuing to follow God and keep going. And if you want to support me, you can go out and drop a donation to the Patreon, PayPal, or the Cash App by clicking the links in the description box, or picking up many of the books on the SJS Direct imprint at online booksellers in paperback and Kindle format on Amazon.com, or picking up those books at other online booksellers like Google Play, Draft the Digital, the iBookstore, and other big box retailers like Walmart and Target. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Coming to paperback and e-readers, Esteem Horror in the Hamptons. The aspiring angel tries to escape a house of horrors in this all-new Esteem series adventure. Pre-order your copy of Esteem Horror in the Hamptons in digital format at Amazon.com, Google Play, Draft the Digital, and other digital booksellers, or pick up your paperback copy on May 24th. Now available in paperback and e-readers, John Haynes' Illuminati, a man who rules the world, takes on the head of the global elite in this all-new action-packed John Haynes series adventure. Get your copy of John Haynes' Illuminati in paperback and e-readers at Amazon.com and online booksellers everywhere. Support Black-owned and Black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.